Alright guys, so today's lesson should be a pretty easy one for us. What we're going to talk about today is how to find the volume. Specifically today we're just going to talk about cubes and rectangular prisms because they are very similar. But first let's just talk about what does volume mean. Volume is how much space is inside of a three-dimensional figure. Okay, so let's say this is the amount of space inside a three-dimensional figure. Okay, so yesterday we started talking about all those different three-dimensional figures. For example, yesterday we looked at cylinders. So imagine if you were to open this up, pour some water in here, close it up, however much water you could fit inside this, that would be its volume. Okay, or maybe you have even a cube. You open this guy up, filled it up with sand or water or something, and closed it back up. However much you can fit inside of this, that is its volume. Okay, for our figures, a lot of times what you might see is you might see a shape that is made up of some smaller cubes. Okay, you can use those smaller cubes to calculate its volume. So this one right here, it's pretty easy to do. If you're looking at this based on rows, I'm going to look at it this direction. Okay, so right here I have one cube. And then behind it I have a second cube. And then behind that one I have a third cube. So I've got three cubes right here. And then underneath that, directly underneath it, I have three more cubes. So I have three and then three more. That would be 6 cubes just in this one row right here. There's 6 cubes in this row. Then that means in this row there are 6 more cubes. In this row there are 6 more cubes. 6 more, and then finally 6 more. So in row 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 rows, each row has 6 cubes. So 5 rows times 6 means this thing has a volume of 30 cubes. Okay, you could figure that out in lots of different ways. Okay, as a matter of fact, what you need to do, this actually is going to lead us to our volume formula. To find the volume of a rectangular prism, you need the length, which in this case, this has 5 rows, so my length would be 5. You need the width. This direction it has 1, 2, 3, so 3 rows. And then you also need the height, which right here you can see it's 2 rows or 2 layers, so a height of 2. So what you can do is you can take 5 times 3 times 2, and that would actually give you 30, which is what we got whenever we counted it up. So our volume formula for a rectangular prism, it is length times width times height. Okay, now for cubes, let me see if I have a cube on here, like this one. Okay, let's look at this one. In a cube, the length and the width and the height are all the same. So you can use this same formula, and you're just going to plug in the same numbers. Or for a cube, some people use the formula, you just take the side length and you cube it, which means multiply it by itself 3 times. But you can also use this formula. I just tend to like to go with just one formula, so I don't have to remember a whole bunch of things. But just know that on a cube, the length and the width and the height are the same number that you're going to be plugging in. Alright, so let's do a couple of examples here. These are very easy. You may already be familiar with this formula. I know a lot of you are. So I'm going to take my dimensions, my length, my width, my height. Length, width, height. Plug them into the formula. 5 times 3 times 4. See what that gives me. 5 times 3 times 4. That gives me a volume of 60. That's it. Because my units here are centimeters. Now volume, because it is a three-dimensional thing, you measure it in centimeters cubed. Okay, this one. My length, my width, and my height are all 6, so 6 times 6 times 6. That would be 216. This would give you the same thing as 6 to the third power. You could type either one of those things in the calculator. Okay, on this one, my length, my width, and my height. Now, let me ask you this. If you got these mixed up, let's say you thought this one was the height, and this one was the length, and this one was the width. It doesn't matter, you know? When you plug it into the formula, you're still multiplying those same three numbers. And you know multiplication doesn't matter which order you do it in, as long as you're multiplying the right numbers. So 25 times 15 times 45, that's going to be a big one. This one has a volume of 16,875 cubic centimeters, or centimeters cubed. Okay, example 4, this one looks like another cube here because all of them are the same. But your volume is length times width times height. In this case, they're all 12. 12 times 12 times 12 gives us a volume of 1,728. This one would be inches cubed, or cubic inches. Okay, does this make sense so far? You're just taking your numbers and multiplying them. Rectangular prisms are the easiest ones out there, which is why we started with this one. So for this one, my volume, length times width times height, 10 times 18 times 6. It's that easy. And we get 1,080 cubic inches. Okay, and then for the last one, now this one doesn't have any dimensions, but you can figure out the dimensions. So let's count. In this direction, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. In this direction, we have 2 blocks. And then up, we have 1, 2, 3. So my length is 5, my width is 2, and my height is 3. So I'm going to do 5 times 2 times 3. And that gives me a volume of, what, 30? Yeah, 30. There you have it. Okay, so this one should be pretty easy. Just take your numbers, take all of your dimensions, and multiply them. It's that easy.